Hello. So what I wanted to do today was just to make a little video about what we did yesterday with the configuration cube. We went through it pretty quickly, I think, and probably most of you kept up. But it's always useful to have a look at things maybe a second time and be able to go through it in your own time. So what I'm going to do first of all, you can see I've got the origin there, and it's right in the center of my cube. And the only reason that I put it there is because, of course, when I come to sketch on the face, any of these faces, the sketch origin is going to be right in the center of the face. So it's just going to make life much easier for me. One of the other things I'm going to do is to hit View, Hide, Show, and I'm going to have it to show dimension names. All right. So what I've got here, and I'm going to do this slightly differently than we did it yesterday, just to show you there's another way, and this is what Evgeny will do. What I can do is in Tools, I can hit Equations, look, and it pops up the Equations Property Manager. And what I'm going to do in here, I want to set a global variable. So of course a global variable is one that will exist throughout my model. And I'm going to create a global variable called side length. And initially I'm going to set it at 100 millimeters. So far so good. So I'm going to say OK, and it evaluates to 100 millimeters. And what you can see is this equations box is now here. So what I'm going to do is double click on this guy, and I've already called it side length. So let's double click this guy, but it's set at a particular value. And what I'm going to do to get it to be associated with that global variable, what I'm going to do is just in the dimension box, which is currently highlighted, I'm just going to hit equals. And then you see what it gives me is the option to see all the global variables that exist. And in this case, of course, there's only one. So I'm going to say OK. And what you can see there, oh, it's disappeared. What you can see there is the sigma. So the uppercase sigma. So that tells me there's an equation associated with this. What I'm also going to do here is double click this guy, and maybe I'll call it depth. Let's call it cube depth. And again, you can call these anything you want, providing it's meaningful to you. And again, I'm going to make this equal to side length as well. So what that means is that whenever I change side length, okay, whenever I change side length, it'll change everything. So it should operate as a proper cube. Let's see if I can. I've probably got to change side length now. Let's see if I can change side length in here, 1000, and say OK. I have to rebuild each time, which is the traffic light. And there it is. So obviously, if you had not made the depth equal to side length, then what would happen each time is you would be, if you like, the cross-sectional size would be 1000 by 1000, but the depth would have stayed 100. So we know based on that so far things are working beautifully. So let's set that back to 100. And again, we need to rebuild. So I'm going to say OK. And I need to rebuild. And there it is, my 100 millimeter cube again. Okay, so far so good. So now what I want to do is, and I can choose any of these, I want to open a sketch and I want to throw in a circle. And as I said before, this beautifully gives me the ability to automatically center things. And let's call this front face diameter. Okay, and in here I'm going to say equals, and this time it's going to be global variable side length, divided by 2. And of course you could do divide by 2, or you could do multiply by 0.5, exactly the same thing. Then what I'm going to do is go to Features, Extruded Cut. I'm going to choose Through All, because if I choose Through All, it doesn't matter what size I make the cube, the hole will go through everything. That's what I've got there. And this guy I can say, rename this guy Front Face Cut. And that's that. Now I can do the same here. Open a new sketch. Smart dimension. Let's call this top face diameter. And this is going to be equal to, equal side length divided by 2. Say OK. And again, extruded cut through all. And last but not least, this guy. Draw a circle like this. Give it a dimension. This one wants to be right side. Oh, let's keep the right face diameter. And this guy equal to side length divided by 2. And if you need to, let's just make that a hole. If you need to, again, it's worth just making sure as early as you can that everything's working properly. So let's change side length again. And let's go down now. Let's make it 10. And of course what will happen is that if now the side length is way smaller than the holes, it won't work. So I'm going to rebuild. And everything worked. Look, there's my holes in proportion now to my 10mm cube. So again, we're making sure now that everything is working. Say yes please, and then rebuild. There it is. Okay, so far so good. So what we want to do now is let's have a look at putting in some fillets like I did yesterday, or some chamfers, sorry. So I'm just going to put a chamfer, and maybe I won't do everything. Maybe let's just do a chamfer like this, and you can reach through and chamfer things. One at the bottom there should be. There it is. Okay, so I've got my chamfers. All right, and what I can put in here is equals. And again, I've got the global variable, look, side length, and I can put an equation in here. So let's divide that by 10. Okay, and I say yes, please. And now that's a variable. So I can do that within the property manager here, or I could have done it like we did yesterday inside of the dialog box. Okay, so I think we're good. And now if I double click on the chamfer, there I've got this value. And it's shown that it's already an equation. So what I can also do here is I can rename it, and I can say this is the whole chamfer size. Okay, and that's got a meaningful name now if I see it somewhere. Okay, so that's that. Now what I can do is maybe I need to change that. Let's rebuild. maybe I need to change this. And what I want to do now is maybe that's a little too big. So I can divide that by 20 and that'll give me a 5mm and rebuild. And there I've got it. Okay, so there's lots of things that I can do here using configurations. So what I'm going to do now, and I could do the same with the edge chamfer as we did yesterday, but I'm sort of cognitive, I'm thinking about the time. And what I'm going to do actually now, I'm going to suppress that chamfer, because what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually do some fillets. All right, and again I'm going to go with these guys here, and I'm just going to click all the different hole edges. Come on, so light up, there we go. All these guys, and then one in the back here somewhere, there we go. So I should have 6, and I'm going to say OK. And what I've got there, maybe I'll make these, I certainly want to make them a part of side length. So I'm going to call this whole fillet size. Okay, and in here I can say equals, and again I can make that side length divided by 20 if I want to keep them the same size as each. And now what I've got is I've got a fillet or a chamfer, and you can see here that they can't exist at the same time, otherwise the model will fail, because of course what will happen is that we will have there'll be no edge for one of them to find, so it'll fail. So one is suppressed and one is unsuppressed. That's the language that SolidWorks uses. So now let's say that I've got my cube how I want it. Now I can start to make some configurations, and maybe we'll call this guy like I did yesterday, maybe we'll call this small. Oh, small. Now I can start to make some other configurations. So add a configuration, let's call this medium, and then let's add another one, and maybe we'll call this I don't know, large, and I'm just going to say OK. And of course there's no difference currently, so it's calling it, it's just highlighting they're all the same size right now. Now what I can do is I can go here and I can right click this guy and I can say what I'm looking for. So what I can do with this, and I'll do this a little differently just so that you can see there are different ways of doing things. I can go into the configuration manager, and when I click in any of these at all, this is the one that controls everything. What you can see is a little drop down here, and it defaults to all configurations. But what I can actually do is I can specify configurations. So what I can do is I can say that this one, so I'm going to say just this configuration, large, and I'm going to make this 1000. Okay, and then what I can do is specify, so I'm going to say OK with that. Okay, and you can see everything changed, and because I had this guy, let's show you that, because I had this checked, it automatically rebuilt as soon as I said OK. All right, now what I can do with this guy now is I can actually go in and choose another one, medium. Now this has gone back to This has gone back to the 100 side length. And now I can configure this guy in here. And I don't know what we're going to say with this. Let's do specify a configuration, medium. Yes, it is. That's good. And maybe we'll make this guy 500 then. And I say OK. It rebuilds. Boof, there we are. That's 500. Now let's go back to the configuration, the small one. I'll go to the equation editor. And this time I'm going to choose specify, and it'll say I'm in the small, and I'm going to say OK, and that works for me. And there I am. So now what I should have is a large, whoosh, a medium, and a small. All right. So again, like we did yesterday, we can also give it a material. Let's edit the material. Actually, we don't need to worry about that. We've got some good materials here. Oh, you know what? I want to configure the material. So currently there's no material specified. Let's have the large one be brass. Let's have the medium one be copper. And let's have the small one be nickel. Okay, and I say apply. And I say yes, I know it'll change. Then I say OK. And now there's my small nickel. This is my medium. Did I say copper? Yeah. And here's my large brassy effort. All right. So there are lots of different ways you can do this. And it's really just about playing. Oh, one last thing I wanted to do. Let's go here. Let's click on this guy and control on this guy. Right click and say configure features. So what I need to do, actually, let's cancel out of that. What I need to do is to do a derived, and I'll only do it on one. Let's do it on the large. So instead of right clicking here, I'm going to right click there and I'm going to say add derived configuration. And this one's going to be large with a fillet, with a chamfer. All right, and I'll say OK. So here's my derived configuration down there, and now I'll go back here, click on this, hold control, click on that, right click, configure feature, and what I've got here, I've only got one that's got a chamfer, so I'm going to unsuppress the chamfer here, all right, and I'm going to suppress the fillet. Remember, they can't exist at the same time. Oh, it didn't like something. Oh, maybe it did. All right, so let's have a look, see what I've got. So now I've got the large chamfer, and sure enough, I have a chamfer, and the large on its own should give me the fillet. Chamfer, fillet. Okay, so I hope this was helpful. Please post any questions that you've got, and Evgeny and I will be very happy to answer them. Thanks. Bye-bye.